We trust that you're doing well. And I'll just ask you the first question. You set pretty lofty expectations for this team at the end of last year. Are you confident that this team is on the road to reaching those expectations with a month and a bit left?
Well, I mean, I think if you had told me we'd be 12 games above 500 and 3 games ahead for a playoff spot, I'd probably say I'd like to be a little better than that, but we're in a good spot. So I think it's an awkward juncture. I wouldn't normally come on with you guys right now, and because it's not time to draw conclusions. It's time to kind of understand where we are. It's been an up and down season, certainly, one that's one of the more strange ones that I've, observed. But at the same time, I know, again, having the privilege to have a front row seat, you couldn't have a group of guys that care more, work harder, or are better teammates and have talent. So that's, normally I would say you put all those things together and you've got a heck of an opportunity to play in postseason. Now for me, it's finishing strong and really ensuring that we're playing our best baseball heading into the playoffs. Because I think whether it's the Braves last year or many other historical examples, if we're playing our best baseball and we get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
You called it one of the strangest years you've been part of. What's been the strangest part of it?
I don't know, just that that all those conditions are there, and yet it's been, there's been some challenging periods where we haven't played well. Again, I think I don't want to write the last chapter of the book, and I think that's premature, but probably just that.
Wondering, Mark, what you see as the greatest challenges going forward, let's say over the next 12 months from that aspect, right? Off the field, renovations, ticket sales, and what could be a recession.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I think I'd imagine you've heard me say it in the past, but I'm a big believer in controlling the controllable. I'm not the Canadian economy, the North American economy is not something I'm focused on controlling. I'm focused on doing everything possible to create the best experience for our fans. That starts with a sustainable championship team and goes to what the renovations are going to bring, which is a tremendous lift in fan experience. But I truly believe that there is limitless potential for this market if we're able to build a sustainable championship team and win year after year. So I'm not any economic conditions at any one moment in time. We are incredibly fortunate to have an owner who's not viewing it, on a limited basis on 1 year, but thinking more about a continuum. That's been evident from the way they supported us throughout the pandemic, and it'll be evident in the way they support us moving forward.
Yeah, I guess my bigger concern there was just because this team since 2015, 2016, we've seen the impact of a winning team. The organizations and everybody, obviously, it's moving in the forward direction. And I was just wondering if you thought that perhaps with, I know you can't control the economy, but you may have to react to it in terms of ticket pricing and things of that nature. Is that just is that just kind of independent of those factors?
No, I think demand impacts ticket pricing for sure. So, right. I mean, I guess, that's a variable within, what creates demand.
Right.
Mark, what's the chances of getting an All-Star game in Toronto?
Well, I hope good. You'd have to call Commissioner Manfred, but, we have put in a bid, and we hope to have a game here. I think, a couple things. One, the renovation is going to make the building capable and a showcase that fits the city and the country and the team. And so it's been 30 years, I think, right? 30 years since an All-Star Game's been here. Think about how much this city has changed during that time. That was, actually my first season in Major League Baseball. And while the team was at a zenith, the city has grown, astronomically since then. There's so much to show off. There's so much to showcase. I can't imagine a better showcase for Major League Baseball than to, have the Midsummer Classic, in Toronto.
Mark, I'm sure you know that every time a contract such as Julio Rodriguez's is announced, or anytime the Braves do anything with one of their young guys, I mean, a lot of us in the media and also, frankly, a lot of fans look at Vladdy and look at Bo and Vladdy in particular and say, okay, when do the Jays pony up and give these guys a multi-year contract? And I'm wondering what Vladdy's after this year going to be 3 years away from free agency. Is there a point where the ship kind of leaves the port when it comes to that, and it's almost more difficult to get a contract done with a guy, or is that just sort of make-believe general manager, fantasy general manager talk?
No, I mean, there is probably a point when you get closer to free agency that a player wants to test free agency, but I still think even if it gets to that point, it's not a player that we can't sign if we're willing to pay whatever the market price is. I think the one thing that might get left out of the public discourse is it's not a unilateral decision. We're not making a decision to sign any individual player long term. It's a relationship between a player and the organization, and it's ultimately about sharing risk. You look for the sweet spot where a player is comfortable giving up some of the upside of reaching a free agent market, and the club is comfortable guaranteeing, through ups and downs, injuries, everything else. And both sides are taking on some risk in doing that. And you try to find that middle ground where both are comfortable with the risk that they're taking. A player, like a Jose Ramirez, for example, says, what I've got in Cleveland is, makes me happy. I don't need anything more. I know I might be able to get more, probably could get more. The Cleveland Guardians say we're going to stretch to pay a player that much, even though it's hard for us to do in this market and with that payroll, because it's a special player and we believe in him and we want him to represent, everything we're about as an organization. They both give up something because that certainty within the smaller payroll is tough for the Guardians to do. And, Jose gives up, finding out what he could have gotten if he had gone to free agency. So that's an example from another team's player. I don't, that's already done, complete. I don't have to, guess, but I'm not going to, talk about our guys individually, except to tell you the same thing we've said all along. We've already had those conversations. We will continue at the appropriate time to have them again, and we'll keep looking for that sweet spot where we both feel good about the risk that we're taking on.